After the 3-month period, I attended a metaphysical group just 2 short blocks away, Dr. Schaefer's group. And he would call the students up to the front and ask them to give a talk to the group. And when first times he called me, I told him I didn't want to go up. And so he bypassed me. And then after he stopped asking me, I realized this is silly. The only reason why I wasn't doing it was the old tendencies remain, but the effectiveness of them is totally gone. The compulsiveness is done away with, even though the tendency remains. It's like a burnt rope. It looks like a rope, seems to be a rope, but it has no skin. If you go to pick up a burnt rope, it just falls apart. And so seeing that, I volunteered to go up and give a talk. First time in my life, here I am up in front of a group of about 60 people, talking on frequencies and vibrations. And I got up there, and I was so surprised. I wasn't nervous. I was looking at them. They were looking at me. And as I was talking, I had a second thing going on in the background. Gee, this is easy. I never knew it was this easy. And that was my first experience in my lifetime of getting up in front of a group and talking. And that was probably 1953. The supersensitivity drops away because your ego drops away. Whereas before I was hearing them all the time. If I heard someone coming out with an anti-Semitic remark or anti-any other remark, I had compassion for them. I saw them hating. I just had a feeling of more love for them because they needed it. The only one they were hurting with their anti was they themselves. They can't hurt anyone else with it. That's just the other one else wants to feel hurt. And once I was on Madison Avenue or Fifth Avenue, I forget which, with the most beautiful and the very best dressed women of the world go shopping during the daytime. I looked at them, looking in the windows of those very expensive shops. And I looked at them, and I looked at the mannequin, and I looked at them again, and I looked at the mannequin again, and I did it a third time. And I couldn't see any difference. I said, holy mackerel, and that's what I thought was beautiful. They're just mannequins. They're interested only in the skin, the outer skin of their body, dressing it, pampering it, spending untold sums of money on it. And the only real beauty is they themselves, not the outer skin. So what became beautiful to me was a person of high love, the soul of a person. And I remember an incident where I was saying to 2 fellows of a girl I had known, gee, isn't she beautiful? I could tell by their looking at me there was something wrong. I said, well, isn't she? And they shook their head, no. And I looked again, and I says, oh, I see what you mean. And she was, in their eyes, or in physical eyes, a homely girl. But she was quite spiritual. That's a bad word. She was high in her capacity to love. And basically that's what is behind all beauty. Love. Can you see it? So my concepts of beauty did a flip-flop. The ones that I thought were, oh, they're the most, they're the greatest, turn out to be like mannequins. And others whom I would have thought horribly homely turned out to be beautiful. I was so at home anywhere and everywhere that in Dr. Schaefer's classes where he taught, always the finest. Everyone was so well dressed and so neat and so proper that I had the nerve to come in with a beard, my hair not combed, and dirty slacks on. Of course, everyone noticed it, but very properly, no one said a thing to me. But I sat there 100% at ease, in spite of all of them looking kind of daggered-eyed at me. I did it on purpose to prove to me I had no reaction, no ego left. I always held a maxim in the back of my mind that I only know that which I can do, which is an excellent check upon oneself. I only know that which I can do. And so I would do it, test it out. And if I did find any reactivity, I did find anything not up to perfection, I immediately went to work to correct it until it was the ultimate in that particular thing was achieved. I did everything to the extreme limit to be sure I had nothing left on it, no more hang-ups on any particular thing. The trip to L.A. was for the purpose of proving that I had discovered and knew. And always with that maxim, I only know that which I can do. I believe I went step by step from small to bigger and bigger things. That's what I was really doing. That was a big one. To walk out with any money and go to Los Angeles. And so I packed my bag, walked out of the apartment with absolute full confidence that I was on my way to Los Angeles. With no doubt that it would not happen. And so it did. And it's not a test, it's a proving. Test implies doubt. Any doubt would stop it from working. Well, not without money, because I wanted to prove I could have anything I wanted without money. Well, you don't need money to. When you demonstrate things, you never think of money. You never should think of money. Because instead of the thing, you'll end up with money. But thinking you need money to do things is a doubt. Really, higher consciousness determines for lower consciousness. That's why people serve me. Yet it's true for everyone. Whenever we think, every molecule in the universe moves to fulfill that thought. And I knew I was going into that movie. Most people think negatively and are creating that for themselves. Most people think with very much limitation and create that for themselves. But I was knowing I was going into that movie. I was so absolutely convinced that it had to happen. But there's only one mind, there's only one intelligence, and we are all in it. And so this man's mind was turned and tuned in my direction. Anyone who has the absolute conviction of anything causes that thing to come about. Anyone who has the absolute conviction that he can be a millionaire can be a millionaire. This requires no subconscious doubts to it, because the unconscious doubting would get in the way. When you're up in tune with the universal mind, in which everyone is in, your power of its use, your ability to use it, is greater, really, than others. And it affects them that way in your direction. It's a high state of love. You're swimming in a high sea of giddy, punch-drunk, this in which everything, and you love everyone. You could even go up and hug and kiss a tree. And that goes over to other people and causes them to want to love you and do things for you. I saw that love was doing for the other one what the other one wanted. It was a giving without any expectation of receiving for it. And here I was wanting something in return for my being nice. That was the reason why I was being nice. I wanted something. When I first moved to Virginia, she had gotten very sick. And I dutifully visited her and spent a lot of hours with her when she was in not too attractive a condition. And she had thrown up on a chair. And I sat down in it. And she was so horrified and apologetic about it. And I very gallantly said, "Oh, that's nothing at all." I said, "I don't mind it one bit." And I just wiped my pants off and sat down. That was being nice to her, to win her over. And I knew it would, and it did. So I went back to the incident, this incident, and I saw that I was really very annoyed by it and very uncomfortable. And then I just acted as though it were nothing, only to win her. And when I saw this selfishness, I resolved, this I dump, this I let go of. And I did. And I changed the feeling right there and then of wanting to do this just to get her my way to one of just feeling love for her. Each time I would see these incidents, I would recognize, now originally I thought it was really love. I would first recognize that it wasn't love, and I would let go of that, and then feel love for the girl or person, which is a nice feeling. You like and approve of that person the way they are. You accept them just as they are. That incident was a little souring of the sweet love. Instead of, then I knew I had it, I think it would be better to say, this was good news to me because, like in other things, I was able to carry it to the extreme. I could love people who were opposing me. I struggled to keep the businesses going, but inwardly I had lost interest. And I struggled because I knew that was the right thing to do. You don't take a going business and walk away from it. I went into it to make money, so I kept struggling. But at the time I was not aware that subconsciously I lost interest in it. Because subconsciously I was not getting what I wanted. I was seeking happiness. And when I was terribly involved in building up the business, I was so busy, I didn't have to bear with my own inner thoughts that I could not stand. When the business became successful, there was time on my hands. I wasn't plagued by the problems of it, like when I was building it up. And there was always a relief when those businesses collapsed. I remember there was always a relief. You see, at the time I wasn't aware of this happening. It was only after realization that I became aware that I was the cause of it collapsing. At the time I thought they did it to me. I blamed the hitching post on the war having started and business having dropped off for a period of time. Blamed the loss of the lumber business on the big operators dropping the price of lumber. But there's ways out of that, and I didn't take them. I wasn't really wanting to. I wasn't interested. But I wasn't aware of the fact at the time. If everyone were in harmony, there would be no waiting in line for tickets. There would be no one clamoring around a box office trying to get them. When everyone's in harmony, there are enough seats for everyone, and everyone walks right in without needing a ticket. You don't even have to pay for it. Nature provides in superabundance when we get in tune with it. There would never be such a thing as shortages. There is unlimited, infinite energy available to us as well as a superabundance of everything we would want to use, that's when you're in tune with nature. No effort is needed when you're in tune with nature. Effort's required when you're working against nature, when you're not in tune with it. This world was put here for our use and play. The idea of nature needing to be conquered is a very negative idea. What needs to be conquered is our negative ideas. And then only positive things happen. The only way to feel love is to love. You can't turn it on like a faucet. It's a process of dropping your hate. Hate and love are two opposites of a pole. And the more hate you have, the less love you have. So to get to love, you've got to drop hatred. This concept, well, I'm going to love this one. You can't love any more than you've got no hate in you. Agreeing with someone is more loving than disagreeing with them. That's all that means. But it doesn't show how to increase love. Everything I say is required and helps one increase love. Or I communicate with them. Talk to them. That helps. And that's lower level approach. For people to increase one's love, communicating with people helps. Why? Because first we recognize them. We're getting away from our self-centering when we do that. And then when we talk to them, we discover that they are like we are. And that helps us better identify with them, and identifying with them is love. And as we talk to them, strangeness drops away. And most of us fear the strange, the unknown. So talking with people tends to do away with the unknown and the strangeness of them. And therefore we feel more affinity for them, and they for us. So communicating with people is one way of increasing one's love. Changing a feeling I had in the past can help me now, because when I review it and I see it was non-love, I feel love in that incident right now. So I'm converting what was non-love to love at this present moment. There's nothing about subconscious. When I now review something that was not with a feeling of love, but right now I feel love, I am at this moment increasing my loving. I use those incidents again and again that turn on love and feel it and learn to love. In those former incidents, I was trying to get love and not feeling so good as I could feel right now when I feel love. One can, if one wants to, become a millionaire. Every person could be a billionaire, or a trillionaire, or a quintillionaire. The that was consciousness, that this truth that I speak of works. Inner conviction does it. When your thinking does it. When your unconscious thinking that is negative on a thing is overwhelmed by the conscious thinking to the contrary that you can, then you can. Right now you're unaware of what you had for breakfast yesterday. But when I mention it to you, you start thinking on it. You start looking for it. And those thoughts come up into consciousness. You remember it. I had bacon and eggs. A rasher of bacon. Before I asked you the question, you were not conscious of the fact that you had a rasher of bacon for breakfast the day before or a week before. And by asking you that, it brought it from the unconscious into consciousness. I always had the idea that a draft would give me a cold, and it used to actually give me colds. One day thinking on it, while I was sitting in a breeze enjoying it, I said, boy, this is the same thing that I call a draft that gives me colds. And here I'm enjoying the thing and not getting a cold. It's a cool breeze. I said, that's silly to hold on to that thought that a draft gives me a cold. And after that, I never got a cold again from a draft. I changed that unconscious thought that drafts give me colds to one that a breeze, a cool breeze is nice and does not give me a cold. That actually happened to me. Thoughts are the only things that dam up the infinite being that we are. But they don't necessarily have to. We can have large thoughts. For instance, I'm a billionaire. I can be a billionaire. I am a billionaire. I can fly like a bird. I can swim like a fish. Run like a deer. But we're absolutely convinced in our thinking that we can't run that fast. So our thoughts are limitations, and even a large thought is limited to the largeness of it. It's still not infinite. You can always have more, can't you? And more and more and more. And that's what would happen in thinking. You always have more and more and more and more and more. First you want to get 100,000, then you want 1,000,000. Then you want more millions. And you want hundreds of millions. And you want billions. And then hundreds of billions. And today we have trillionaires. And the trillionaires won't stop. They'll try to become quadrillionaires. If they become quadrillionaires, they'll want to be quintillionaires. If they become quintillionaires, they'll want to be septillionaires. I'm not sure of that one now. Octillionaires. Sept would be 9. Yeah, the thoughts determine the amount of the infinity that manifests for us. We drop thoughts of limitation and take on thoughts of less limitation. I was so ill when I started. I had one foot in the grave. And when I saw that my thinking was cause for what was happening to me, I immediately saw my body from my chin down to my toes as perfect. And instantly I knew it was perfect. I never even thought of the idea of checking it out. I knew the lesions and adhesions of my intestines. Intestines due to perforated ulcers were undone. I knew everything within me was in perfect running order, and it was. As I saw that the source of all intelligence was right behind my mind, that my mind was filtering through bits of it, I allowed more and more of it to come through. And digging for this, wanting to know what am I, and seeing myself revealed to myself more and more as with less and less limits on it. I wanted to go all the way on that. And I began to see that the only limitations I have are the ones that I accept. So looking for this unlimited being that's I already had inkling of that I was, I got insights of this tremendous unlimited being that I am. And on seeing that, I right there and then realized, well, I'm not this limited body that I thought I was. And I'm not this mind with its limitations that I thought it was. And they undid all body limitation. And almost all mind limitation. Just by saying, I am not it. Finished, done, period. That's it. I so declared. It was obvious to me that I wasn't that body and mind that I had thought I was. I just saw it, that's all. It's simple when you see it. And I let go of identifying with this body. And when I did that, I saw that my beingness was all beingness. That beingness is like one grand ocean. It's not chopped up into parts called drops of bodies. It's all one ocean, which caused me to identify with every being, every person, and even every atom in this universe. And that's an experience that's so tremendous, it's indescribable. And you see that the universe is, first you see the universe is in you, then you see the universe as you. Then you know the oneness of this universe. Then you are finished forever with separation and all the hellishness that's caused only by separation. Then you can no more be fooled by the apparent limitations of the world. You see them as a dream, as an apparent frequency, because you know that your very own beingness has no limits. And should you choose to express them, you can. However, you don't, because of your compassion for others, and the fact that they cannot take it. You hold it in the background, you hold it away from them, rather than impose upon them. And that's why the masters rarely ever show their abilities. What they want is the other one to discover that the other one has all these abilities. Nothing is impossible when you get into that state. There's only one mind, and if we're in tune with it, everyone fits together perfectly. No one has to be told even what to do. When I saw that the mind was mine, that the body was mine, I began to question, who am I who has this body and mind? And what I saw was that I was an unlimited beingness. That this beingness was the cause of everything, and yet was not subject to whatever it caused or created. And this beingness being unlimited, the only limitation was created by the mind limiting itself, or by my limiting the action of my mind. Beingness is simply existence. Isness, amness. It's the I that I am. It's the I-ness of me. And that part is without limitation. When you discover this, the first thing you recognize is that there's no need to be a victim of your environment, to be a victim of nature. That you can consciously create your circumstances to be the way you would like them to be. And from then on, your consciousness is one of, I have everything I need as I need it. Everything is in perfect attunement. Everything is okay. Everything is good. And because of that consciousness, that becomes your world. Everyone makes his world by his mental conceptions. Everyone sees the world in accordance with his ideas and conceptions. You don't like the world out there? Change your thinking, and your world will change. Now, of course, your thinking includes your subconscious thinking, the thoughts that are in your mind that you're not looking at. Any thought that I'm not looking at this moment is unconscious. The moment I look at it, we call it consciousness, or conscious. So the unconscious thinking is the stored up accumulation of all our past thinking. that we're holding in the background and not looking at it for the moment because we don't want that. That looks to us like a tremendous piece of work to hold in consciousness everything from the past. And so we store it in the background and we call it unconscious. The unconscious thoughts are effective whether we look at them or not at the moment. And the only way to handle them, change them, is to make them conscious. And then on a conscious plane we can change them. That's what I was doing while I was making this tremendous growth. I was freeing myself from all the former concepts of limitation that I had accumulated until I felt no more limitation, until I had no more, hardly any more thoughts of limitation. If you let go of all of them, you disappear. Because the body is a limitation. The body would disappear, you wouldn't disappear. The logs in the dam are the subconscious thoughts, which when they're pulled out, the infinity behind the dam can flow through you. The reason why people do not discover this is, first, they're not looking for it where it is. They're unconsciously all looking for it in the thing they call happiness. But they do not know that this happiness lies in their discovering that they are beings with no limits. And by force of habit, they accept that they are limited to their bodies, to their troubles. And the accepting of it is the continuing of it. And as we continue it, we make it better and better and better. So our problems and our difficulties get better, get more and more and more. When they go to the extreme, like they did with me, it seems that only then are people shook up enough to re-question the entire thing, enough to see that the way that we are going is not the way, that our happiness does not lie in fame, fortune, and in being loved. When things get to the extreme, they realize that those seeking those three things invariably end up in frustration and unhappiness. And then, when they hit the extreme, there's only one way to go. Not the way that they were going, looking for happiness and materiality, but to go within and question, what is this all about? Then they will discover what I discovered. And anyone can do it if first he hears of the way out, and second, believes that this is the way out, and third, wants it so much that it becomes first in his life, more important than anything else, more important than seeking the happiness the way he had been seeking it. Then he discovers that he is unlimited, that his joy has no limits, that the real natural way of life is perfectly harmonious, that nature is harmonious, and that all he needs to do is get in tune with it and live it.